So let's take a little bit more detailed look at while loops. When you start a while loop, you need to get out of a while loop, and the idea is that you have some reason that you're going to be in the loop, and you get out of that loop. Sometimes you might say, ask user, do you want to continue? And they'll say, yeah, and you have wow, user input is equal to y. Let's look what we have here. I'm looking at week 3A. So I set a computer number equal to 7. I set guess equal to 0, and then I have guess is not equal to computer number. And so we run this, and as long as I don't enter a 7, it keeps running. I enter a 7, and we keep running. Why doesn't that work? You can see why doesn't that work. And the reason is the input command is giving us a string, and the string 7 is not equal to the integer 7. So if we change that to, if we add guess is equal to int of guess. Now when we run it, I gotta stop this here. Now when we run it, we do. Then when we enter 7, now we're done. But the thing is, we're looking for some situation here, and we're doing the comparison in the while loop. We do the same thing here. Notice we have to do the string here. And we do our numbers. Sure enough, it works this time. But what we're doing is not comparing, changing it to int. We're doing the int inside the while loop. It's really the only difference there. All right, now this is a much better way of doing the while loop. So we set the flag variable. It doesn't have to be a flag. It might be something called continue, but the terminology for it is flag, so I call it a flag variable. And we do the same thing, but now if it's equal to, inside that same indented if statement, we set flag equal to 1, so we fall out of the while loop. So we do the same thing we were doing before, enter a yes or no. We do an end, and sure enough, we fall out of the while loop. All right, same thing. We have our flag equal to 0, and we say while flag is equal to 0, we set the flag with 1 equal sign, and we check whether it's equal using the 2 equal signs, and we say any either 1, 2, 3, or 4, and we do the same thing, and we do 1, and we say thanks for entering a 1, and we fall out of the loop. If we run it again, and we enter something besides that, like a 7, we just stay inside the loop. And of course, what happens if you enter a letter? This is what happens if you enter a letter. You get execution error. And we're going to work on that next week or the week after on how to fix those. All right, so then we set our flag, we check our flag, we do 1 to 5, and then we only look for the guess if it's greater than 0 or less than 5, but we do some error checking by saying, is this variable a digit? So now we do 7, 8, 9, and we're good. And if we enter a string, we don't get an execution error because we're not trying to change that into an integer. We're just leaving it as a string. And so we're saying if it's a digit, don't go in there to check that, because it's clearly, if it's a digit, it's not 1, 2, 3, or 4. All right, so now we get a little further along. So we set our flag equal to 0, we check to see if it's flag, and now we set up a little menu here. Now notice I have the /ends in there. which will print out the menu this way, but it's listed this way. And we do the same thing. Is it a digit? And is it greater than 0 or less than 5? And if we got to stop this here. So we run that, and now we have our options here. And if I do something outside that, it just stays there. But if I add a 1, it says thanks for entering a 1, and we're done. Now we do the same thing, but instead of just falling out of our loop when we enter a 1 to 5, we actually do something here. But remember, this is not indented, so we're still falling out of the loop, but we're actually saying what we've done. So we do that. If we do a 2, it says, let's drop a course. But again, this is not indented. If we wanted to see it run, we'd need to indent that. And now when we run it, we do 2, says thanks for flag, but we still fall out because of our flag here. We need to only move this flag down into the by where it's equal to 4 to fall out of that. And that is what we've done here. You can see we set the flag, we do the flag equal to 0, we do the input. If it's a digit, we go and keep further. If it's not a digit, we just go back and print the menu again. And now if they enter a 1, 2, 3, we will see that 1, 2, 3, it says what we're going to do. If we do a number outside of that, we get nothing. If we do some letters, we get nothing. If we do 4, we fall out of the loop. And this one, the week 3 H1, is an example of using a flag to get out of a while loop. This is the best option for using while loops. You don't want to really do the comparison inside the while loop. Sometimes you do, but for something like a menu or something, this is the way you want it to get out of a while loop. You can do better error checking this way than doing your comparison in the while loop. Hope that helps.